This has come out of nowhere. Arsenal, it would appear, are making moves, and of course the choices we make now do impact us for the rest of the season. Everyone's getting carried away with new signings, but I think it's important to remember just because something's new doesn't necessarily mean it's better. Gabriel Martinelli is the main talking point, but there's so much to touch on in this video. Very quickly, if you're new here, hit like and subscribe. I need to know your thoughts on Martinelli. Please let me know, because the news is Arsenal have to offload Gabriel Martinelli before we can sign another winger. And the only bid on the table is £34 million for Galatasaray. So I ask you, if that is the price for Martinelli and we have to sell to buy someone else, do you guys do that deal? Because I do think people get carried away at times at looking at a new shiny toy and thinking, oh my god, that could be far better than what we have in this team, forgetting the fact that Martinelli is a Premier League winner. And I'm not saying he's perfect, but let's not get carried away with the thought that just because something's new, it's better. I think people get carried away with perfection, chasing perfection. Every football fan does it. I do it. Everyone is guilty of it. But it's difficult because it's like wishing for something that can never happen. You will never get perfection. You can always dream of evolving and wishing for something, but it's like me wishing for my hairline to come back. It's impossible. So you look at Martinelli and you think, right, £34 million. What are the other options out there? And are they even better? Because Yildiz and Nico Williams are the ones that's being laid at the door of Arsenal. Those are the ones that Arsenal are being linked with. And I look at the players and I think, sure, they could. Is it a gamble? Yes, every signing is a gamble. But when you look at the price tags, it's come out. Juve will demand way over 100 million for Yildiz. Maybe that would be a good deal. But you look purely at the numbers. Last season, 11 goals and 10 assists. That's what way over 100 million gets you. And people can say, yeah, but he's a different type of player. It's not all about output. And I agree, it's not all about output. But at the same time, if you're buying a forward, his primary target should be to score goals and assist goals, because that's what a forward should do. Yes, he has to line up in position, he has to drop in defensively, but you buy a player and he scores 20 goals, 20 assists, it doesn't matter what else he does. You've got a player that provides mental output. So Yildiz for way over 100 million. Does that justify 11 goals and 10 assists? And then you look at Nico Williams, £80 million release clause. Apparently he's on something like 300k a week. And his output last season, 6 goals and 7 assists. Is that comprehensively better than Gabriel Martinelli? I'm asking you guys the question because Martinelli's already playing in the strongest league in the world. I'm not saying he's unbelievable, by the way. I think Martinelli can improve, and I think with the adjustment in the midfield, I think we're going to have more creativity this season. So I think there's a possibility where Gabriel Martinelli's numbers could increase. Pair that with the fact that a Brazil international come up who's already got that chemistry with him. That could help him. But I just look at the market and I don't see any player that makes us 100% better. Someone you can look at and say, for sure you're better than Martinelli. And you're paying like 4 times the price, 3 times the price of what Gabriel Martinelli is. And I'm like, is this the sensible option? Because I think this team is good enough to win the league. I know not everyone agrees because people put out a comment. What did they say? They're saying our attack isn't good enough to win the league. And I like the comment one of my subscribers made. And he was saying these players went through hell to deliver the title and suddenly they're not good enough. I think it's a very good point because you look at the way things are. It's almost like everyone expects Arsenal to go and dominate the league for the next 10 seasons. And I would love that to happen. But it's not a reality. Man City have skewed how the Premier League fans look at football. Because before Man City were there, if you was fighting for the Premier League, it was a dog's life. Nothing was guaranteed. Every week, every weekend, you was battling for points. It's only since City come and they won, what did they win? 8 or 9 of the last 10 Premier League titles. They absolutely dominated this league. And it's like football fans expect their club to go on and do the same thing. And although you can aim for that if you want, that's not the normality. When Chelsea were winning leagues, when Liverpool, Arsenal, United were winning leagues, when Arsenal were battling Man United, you could never in your wildest dreams have dreamt to run away with the league just after the halfway point of the season. The things hadn't even started at that point. But it's like, since City have come here, if you're top at Christmas, you go on to win the league. That's just the way things are now. So I think it's important to remember, just because things have been a certain way previously doesn't mean going forward that's the new normal. Like, we can't expect Arsenal to win the league every single season. That's not me saying I don't think Arsenal are still best placed to go and win the league, but you can't have it as a built-in factory setting. Arsenal are going to win the league, because then as soon as the little bit of controversy comes up, this negative cloud that's been hanging in the background comes to the fore, and you see it within the Arsenal fan base. And I think it's important to just bear in mind, Arsenal is still an unbelievable team. You look at our players, and again, I'm not pretending, or I'm not deluded and saying things are perfect. I'm not saying things are going to be easy, because there are question marks around the defence. Most people are saying early on in the season it's going to be difficult. We don't know what players will be available at the start of the season. Missing Saliba, of course, defensively it makes you weaker. You're missing in one of your two best defenders. Of course your defence is going to be slightly weaker. We don't know the injury status of Declan Rice. There's only one attacker that I can look at in the entire market and say without a shadow of a doubt he improves our front line, and that is Julian Alvarez. But there's so many uncertainties around Julian Alvarez. So many Arsenal fans have already removed the deal out of their mind. They're saying he doesn't want to join Arsenal as a priority, so for that reason, I don't want him. For me, that doesn't correlate with my thinking, because I think if a player's good enough to improve us, whether their dream club's Barcelona, it doesn't bother me. But when we signed Gabriel, there's no guarantee that his dream club was Arsenal. Doesn't mean he hasn't been an unbelievable signing. When Declan Rice was at West Ham, if Real Madrid come in and it was Arsenal or Real Madrid, there's no guarantee that he chooses Arsenal. Every player moves to a team when they've probably got a different dream club in their mind. So I don't care that Julian Alvarez's dream club might be Real Madrid, because David Raya's dream club might be Real Madrid. Jurriën Timber's dream club might be Real Madrid. Real Madrid are just the biggest club in the world. It doesn't worry me if these guys have dream clubs. It doesn't mean they can't still be a good player for Arsenal. I know people don't agree with that thinking, but that's just my rationale. I'm just glad that football is going to be here very soon. Arsenal play the Community Shield this week against Man City, and I'm just excited to get back to the football. Because the transfer market is fun, of course it is, and it's always fun making these videos and talking to you guys about the current happenings at Arsenal, but there's nothing like just getting down, closing the doors and just focusing on the issues that are relevant, because we can all speculate and think, right, I want Julian Alvarez, I want Julian Krupi, I want Nico Williams or Yildiz, or whichever player is the talking point at that moment. But when the transfer window closes, you're forced to just direct your energy in other areas instead of looking at the outside noise and looking ahead our players that have done so much to win the title for us. And I did like that comment, because I do think people disregard the effort the players put in because they think the players still aren't good enough. Again, the league shouldn't be easy. The league shouldn't be wrapped up by Christmas. You should have to fight to win the Premier League. And just because the last 10-15 years hasn't been that way doesn't mean going forward it's not going to be that way. You look at the Premier League and there are so many teams that are improving. Chelsea are a team to watch. There was also a team to watch last season, so I'm not saying they're going to win the league, but I'm excited to play Chelsea. Chelsea just got the one over on Arsenal in the transfer window, so we have to go and hammer them when we play them. There's no other way to get over that. Morgan Rogers was a great player. I didn't like the price tag, but when you look at that output, which is what you should focus on as a winger, how many goals and assists you score, double digits. That's a good player. Arsenal's number one target. Chelsea might have overpaid by 37 million, but they still got our number one target. So we need to go play them and prove to them, look, you might be flashing daddy's money around and be able to beat us in the transfer market, but when the whistle blows, there's no one here to save you. Daddy's checks can't save you now when you've got Declan Rice hunting you down. That's why I'm excited to get started. Man United are going to be a difficult game this season. City will be a difficult game this season. Everyone is improving and people are panicking because they don't think Arsenal are moving quick enough in the transfer market. But maybe we're restricted due to the financial. It's just the reality of football. You can't look at Chelsea and say, I wish my club was run like that. Look at Man City splashing the money and think, I wish my club was run like that. Because City have got all these charges hanging over them. Chelsea have literally been banned in the transfer market. So Arsenal, it would appear, are doing things the right way. We're one of the only historic Premier League clubs that seems to be conducting themselves with an ounce of decorum. So I don't look at Arsenal's board and the manager and Andrea Berta and penalise them for playing by